In this review we look at a model of a type of a machine that was first modelled in 2014. It is a K-Tec scraper in the ADT series. It's the 1237 ADT. It comes in a branded box, but the first thing to notice is that one end of the box is decorated as a container, and that's because the real 1237 can be shipped in a container. The back of the box is very good because there's a description of what the real machine is, and there's also a printed table which has technical information about the real machine, including a timeline of how long it takes to convert an ADT into a functioning scraper. Turning the box further, we get to see this model is made by Motorart, and surprisingly they've spelt their own name wrong. First off, we put it onto the Cranes etc. weighbridge and it's just over 3 pounds. And that's about 1.4 kilograms. Let's now open up the box and see what's inside. And what we find are large plastic formers which encase the model, but they do seem to protect it quite well. To get the model out, there's no messy tapes to cut, we just separate the formers, and then the model can be lifted straight out. It comes as two separate parts. There's the Volvo ADT and the K-Tec scraper. There's also a bag with a couple of pins. For the assembly, we need to join up the scraper to the ADT, and you can see there's a forked adapter on the gooseneck. That slots into the connection point on the ADT, and it's just a little bit fiddly to get it in and seated properly. To secure it in place, you need to insert a pin, and it's best to use a pair of pliers to do this. Once you locate the pin in the hole, you can use the pliers to push it home, and that effectively locks the connection. Next, it's always good practice to connect up the hydraulics, and although there's no instructions for this, there is a box on the ADT which has a hole in it. So if you like stuffing things into holes, this is the model for you. The real scraper seems to have a small gantry to hold the cables in position, but that's not been modelled here. With the assembly complete, let's weigh the completed model, and we get just about 2 pounds 3 ounces, or a nice round 1 kilogram. The ADT part of the model looks like it's derived from Motorart's A40G ADT, which I guess is close enough to the A45 GFS listed on the box. The detail underneath is reasonably good, and you can see this version of the model has a colour difference between the K-Tec part and the Volvo part. Underneath, the scraper detail is simple as you would expect, and it has nice looking tyres. The detailing at the front of the ADT is very good, with textured surfaces adding to the look. A high point is the mesh grille in the sides, and the sharp graphics add detail. The large tyres and wheels look convincing, and there are metal handrails outside the cab. For the cab itself, the mirror assemblies are plastic, as are the grab rails around the roof. The windscreen is simply mounted and it has a wiper. Behind the cab there are textured steps leading up, and the assembly behind the cab is plastic. Soft hydraulic hoses run to the steering pivot. There's a special load spreader for the K-Tec on top of the chassis, and it also includes large metal wheel arches. The bowl support has got very sharp graphics, and there are soft hydraulics running to the bowl. In fact, the detailing of the hydraulics is a high point, with various pipes and hoses modelled. Another high point of the detailing are the numerous warning signs that are applied around the scraper. These are very small, but they also look sharp and realistic. Also looking good on the model are the fine mesh grills, and also very good is the K-Tec logo, which is etched inside of the bowl. At the back there's another fine mesh grille on the ejector, and at the back of the machine there's a robust pusher point in case the machine needs some assistance. Starting underneath, and the axles on the ADT part of the model are common, so the wheels spin together. But it's nice that on the scraper part each wheel spins independently. The ADT steers at its pivot point, and the hydraulic rams that control this are quite stiff. With the steering set you can produce some interesting poses, and there's also very good rotation at the articulation point, so you can show off all of your ADT driving tricks. A very nice aspect of the ADT part of the model is the opening hood, and when you open it up it stays open, and there's a very nicely detailed engine underneath, so it's a feature well worth including. Moving on to the scraper, and there's also very good articulation at the connection point. And the other functionality of the scraper is really good too. The apron at the front lifts, and you can lower the bowl to simulate scraping. And much improved on this version of the model is that the hydraulics will hold the bowl up when travelling. You can also simulate the discharge action by using the ejector. So let's do a quick genuine imitation real life test, and we're just going to show how the scraper empties its load. With the apron up, the machine moves forward, and as it does so the ejector pushes the material out through the front. In this case the giant prodding finger is an optional extra fitted to this particular machine. If you want, you can form transport loads, and an easy one is the ADT part. You could transport the scraper as an overwide load. Another feature of the real machine is that you can form a scraper train, and to do that you need a second copy of the model. With the scraper from the second model we can attach it to the connection point at the back of the first scraper, and it joins in a similar way to the connection to the ADT. On this one there's no obvious place for the hydraulics, so we'll just stick them in what looks like a suitable hole. This connection should also be pinned, but in this case the pins are too long to actually get in. Once you've got it all joined up you get an impressive scraper train, and it becomes a great looking earth moving model. This latest version of a K-Tec scraper is a much improved model over the one that was produced a few years ago. The detailing, the functionality and the quality are all at a high level, and it all adds up to an impressive looking earth mover. So if you're looking for an interesting earth moving model, this one is excellent.